well, I can't say love. Bill Gates, the richest man in the world. You know who he is, Microsoft. One of the, let us say, architects of the New World Order. One of those tech giants, or tech pirates, if you wish to look at it another way, those who want cheap labor from around the world so they can make even more billions and give to more liberal causes. Bill Gates was in Europe, and he gave a speech to the European Union that astounded me. I saw it on Breitbart. Virginia Hale caught it. No one else seems to have caught this. Bill Gates, after encouraging massive migration into Europe and America, said Europe will be overwhelmed unless it stems the flow of migrants. I said, am I reading this correctly? One of the mad architects of this meltdown of our borders, language, and culture, the destruction of Europe, mainly with Africans and Muslims. Listen to what Bill Gates said. In an interview with the German Bild am Sonntag newspaper, the richest man in the world, Bill Gates, said massive population growth in Africa will result in, quote, enormous migratory pressure on Europe unless countries increase overseas development aid payments. But he also talked about a dilemma caused by, quote, the German attitude to refugees, referring to the madwoman, Angela Crazy Woman Merkel's decision to slam open Europe's borders to illegal immigrants arriving from the third world. Bill Gates, one of the architects of this, said, on the one hand, you want to demonstrate generosity in taking refugees. Okay, Bill, check that. Then he goes on, and he says, but the more generous you are, the more word gets out around about this, which in turn motivates more people to leave Africa, Gates told a Sunday newspaper. I couldn't believe what I was reading. And then he said Germany cannot possibly take in the huge, massive number of people who are wanting to make their way to Europe. Now, ladies and gentlemen, do you realize what a sea change this is for one of the architects of the breakdown of our borders, language, and culture? Bill Gates finally realized that the level of refugees they're getting from Africa and from the Muslim nations is below that even he needs for slave labor in his factories. You see, even the tech pirates come to understand there's a point of no return with a certain low-levelness of the immigrant level. Did I make myself clear? I hope so. Nothing more needs to be said. Bringing in people with diseases, telling us to go to hell if we have any concerns about it. We're a racist because we didn't want Obama to be bringing in by people in from Honduras by the trainload infected with Zika. We didn't want that. So we were the racists. You hear this? How psycho the progressives are, how psychopathic they are, and suicidal. And that's why when I woke up today and I saw this article that Bill Gates, the richest man on earth, saying Europe will be overwhelmed unless it stems the flow of migrants, I said, oh, he finally woke up, did he? The richest man on earth, Mr. Sweater? Mr. Sweater woke up to what the refugees are doing to Germany. Mr. Sweater woke up to what his constant preachings about racism and no borders, bring them all in. He now woke up to what has happened to Europe. He opened his eyes. I guess he stepped out of his private jet for 2 seconds and looked at the television and saw the mass rapes that are going on in Europe, the mass rapes that are going on in Sweden, the mass crime and terrorism that's going on across Europe. And he finally put 2 and 2 together and said, we got to stop this. Can you believe this? He finally saw this. Gates also spoke of a dilemma caused by the German attitude to refugees, referring to Chancellor Angela Psychopathic Merkel's decision to open Europe's borders to illegal migrants arriving from the third world. Are you listening to this? Is Bill Gates now. This is not Michael Savage. And yet the UN keeps pushing for more. UN High Commissioner for Refugees Filippo Grandi, whoever this loser is, on Saturday decried an unfolding tragedy in Italy. And he said, we'll have more tragedy at sea unless you take in more. He said, we need an urgent distribution system for incoming migrants from Africa and asylum seekers and, quote, additional legal pathways to admission. It's a suicidal path that these EU commissioners are following. They're destroying their own nations. And now even Bill Gates, the richest man on earth, finally sees the error of his ways. Isn't that astounding? But that story by Bill Gates, did it make it to CNN? Don't think so. Did that story make it to any of the other networks? That even he, one of the architects of this doom for European civilization and American civilization, one of the chief architects of it, the richest man, that he's seen what it's done. He's finally awakened to the damage he's caused. Wow. Why doesn't he spend a few billion of his dollars to help us build a wall with Mexico to make up for what he's done? Would he feel it? Bill Gates gave $25 billion to build a wall. He wouldn't even feel it. He wouldn't feel it at all. Nothing to him. Instead of giving it to more progressive causes, which will bring in more damage, why doesn't he give it to building a wall to prevent more damage from occurring in this nation that gave him so much? Oh, right. It's Bill Gates himself gave a speech in Europe where he said, Europe will be overwhelmed unless it stems the flow of migrants. Somehow that didn't get reported by the geniuses on MSNBC, did it? Because it goes against their doxy, their religion, that migrants are good. Immigration is good. Anyone who's opposed to open borders is evil. Anyone who doesn't like migrants is a fascist. Yeah, but even Bill Gates realized, God, these migrants coming in from the African nations, they can't even work in his sweatshops. They're not even up to that level. Who's going to take care of them? And the EU keeps pushing for more of them. UN keeps pushing for more of them. The Italians are overwhelmed. Their youth are unemployed, and they're giving jobs to Africans. They're giving housing to Africans, clothing to Africans, medical care to Africans. Ask the young Sicilian boys if I'm making this up. Their country has been sold down the river by progressive fascism. That's it for the day. Be well.